Hello friends, this is Dr. Banerjee from History Series. This is the second part of the European colonialism. A closer look at colonialism in Africa. This is the port of Zanzibar around 1900 centuries. The great colonial empires and conflicts between the powers. European colonial empires were born in the 15th and 16th centuries. First Portuguese and Spanish, then French, English and Dutch had conquered vast territories on other continents. The British Empire constituted the largest in history. The French Empire occupied important territories in Africa and Indochina. Other empires, European countries like Germany, Italy, Portugal, Holland or Spain, and non-European powers like the United States and Japan. The British Empire. Great Britain had been established since the 17th century as the great European naval power. Encouraged by its spectacular industrial development, the UK configured an empire stretching from Canadian America to Australia and New Zealand in Oceania, from Egypt and South Africa in Africa to the jewel of the empire. The large colony of India in Asia, many colonies in Asia and enclaves ranging from the Caribbean, that is Jamaica, to Asia, Hong Kong and Singapore, to Europe, Gibraltar, Malta and Cyprus, shaped the most extensive empire in history. The French Empire. The French threw themselves into an active colonial expansion with a strong nationalist attitude and a remarkable industrial development. Its empire extended around two areas, Saharan and Equatorial Africa, that is Algeria and Morocco, and the Indochina Peninsula in Southeast Asia, Vietnam, Laos and Cambodia. The principal central conflict was Africa. After various frictions, the powers, led by German Chancellor Bismarck, decided to meet in order to establish general rules that would give order to the colonial race. In the Berlin Conference of 1885, it was agreed that a country would have rights to a territory. It should have exploded it completely. This resolution further accelerated the colonization process. Other empires. Some former colonial powers like Spain in North Africa, Portugal in Africa, and Netherlands in the Antilles, the Caribbean and the Indonesia remained remnants of its own vast empires. New countries like Germany and Italy struggled to get a place mainly in Africa, in the grand colonial division that was active across the globe. At the end of the 19th century, two non-European powers joined the small group of colonist countries. The United States annexed the Philippines and Puerto Rico while maintaining an indirect domination over Cuba. After beating Spain in 1898 and Japan annexed Taiwan and Korea after defeating China in 1898 and Russia in 1904 to 1905. Conflicts between the empires continued. The scramble for Africa and the curve out of Africa. Tensions between European powers were not new. However, after 1870, the colonial powers threw themselves into an unprecedented career expansionism that spawned multiple tensions in parts of the world. The principal central conflict was Africa. After various frictions, the powers led by German Chancellor Bismarck decided to meet in order to establish general rules that would give order to the colonial race. In the Berlin Conference of 1885, it was agreed that a country would have rights to a territory it should have explored it completely. This resolution further accelerated the colonization process. African territory, with its dense forest, widespread lakes, swamps, and deserts, was unfamiliar to European travelers. Leopold II, the King of Belgium, had Congo under his dominance. He convened a geographical conference in Brussels in 1876. European geographers and the researchers had gathered in this assembly. It was decided there to establish an institution called International Association for the Exploration and Civilization of Central Africa for the purpose of dissemination of knowledge in Africa. In 1884, a conference of European nations was organized in Berlin to explore the opportunities in Africa available to them. The true purpose of this conference was to discuss the possibilities of dividing the African territory amongst themselves. In the Berlin Conference, the Belgian supremacy in Congo was acknowledged by all, and Congo was renamed as Congo Free State. It was also decided in this conference that if any of the European nations fails in utilizing the natural resource in the colonies under their charge, then that nation should give it up to another European nation. George Tubman Goldie was a British citizen who founded the National African Company in England. A charter was issued to him by the British government permitting to conduct trading operations in Nigeria. Later, the company was acquired by the British government. Nigeria became a colony governed by the British government. Bismarck, the Chancellor of Germany, established the first German colony in West Africa in 1883. It was named Togoland. Germany also established its colonies in Cameroon and Southwest Africa. France established their supremacy in Senegal, Gambia, and in the region to the north of Congo. In 1883, Ivory Coast also became a French colony. Later, France acquired the region of Dahomey from Portugal. Till 1994, France had established their control over the region from Sahara Desert to Ivory Coast to the west and French Guiana. Cape Colony and Natal in East Africa were held by England, while Mozambique was under Spanish control. The Boer War 1899 to 1902, the unearthing of gold and diamonds in southern Africa in 1867 fueled the conflict between the British and the Boers. The Boers were Dutch settlers. Basically, they were farmers who fought the British in the Boer War but lost and joined the British Union of South Africa. The Boers originally resented Britain's 1806 takeover due to its implementation of anti-slavery laws and its Anglicizing influence. Britain won the previously Dutch colony in the Napoleonic Wars. Liberia and Ethiopia were the only independent African nations by that time. England, France, and Germany were interested in the regions of East Africa. These three nations made a pact to protect each other's interests. Accordingly, the Sultan of Zanzibar was given Pemba Island and the coastal region of East Africa, while Madagascar was given to France, the coastal region of North Africa to England, and the south region to Germany. In 1897, Germany took over the East African region from German East Africa Company. England declared Zanzibar, Pemba Island, and Nyasaland, that is Malawi, as their protectorates, and it came to be known as British East Africa. Morocco, Algeria, Tunis, Tripoli, and Egypt were part of the north region of Africa. In 1830, France had already established control over Algeria. Italy, France, and England wanted to occupy Tunis. In this competition, France was successful and got hold of Tunis from its Turkish Sultan. Thereafter, France took hold of Morocco as well. Italy conquered Tripoli also and Cyrenaica. Both England and France wanted to gain hold over Egypt. The British built railway from Alexandria to Cairo. Suez Canal that joined Mediterranean and Red Sea was built under the supervision of French diplomat Ferdinand de Lesseps. In the beginning, Egypt bore the expenditure for this project. However, later the expenditure for Suez Canal got so escalated that Egypt had to seek loans to meet it. It became impossible to repay even the interest on the loans, so Egypt put up the shares of Suez Canal Company for sale. England purchased a number of shares and thus gained part ownership of the company and the Suez Canal. Egypt became independent in 1922. Sudan, to the south of Egypt, was its vassal state. England, by the virtue of Egypt being deemed as British protectorate, had also assured the same role in Sudan. Sudan was important for England because the Nile, the lifeline of Egypt, originates in Sudan. England, without paying heed to local opposition, established its supremacy over Sudan. To facilitate the moving of British army in Sudan, the British began to build a railway track from Uganda to Sudan. France accepted England's claim on Sudan and in exchange asked for some facilities in the western parts of Africa. colony and Natal in the southern parts of Africa were under British control. Orange Free State and Transvaal were under Dutch control. Gold mines were discovered in Johannesburg and it attracted European nations to South Africa. This resulted in England's decision to consolidate its colonies in the southern region and name it Union of South Africa. At about same time, the Portuguese gained control over Angola. Some islands in the Guinea coast, some part of Morocco came under Spain's control. Here are some effects of imperialism on Africa. Few are the positive impact and few are the negative. So far the positive impacts are concerned, the countries of Africa were modernized, roads, railroads, canals were built, trade markets were built up, new methods of farming were introduced, medicines were modernized, public education had been given, and military build-up happened. But on the other hand, some problems had been created between African tribes. Forced ethnic groups into the same nation, African culture had been destroyed. They had to adopt another culture. In many parts, segregation and class system based on color were introduced. Africa has yet to recover. So here is the conclusive part. One of the main characteristics of colonialism is to transport the raw material from the colonies to one's own country and use the colonies and marketplaces for selling their final products. It was said that the sun never sets on the British Empire because British colonies were more, and it was the way to indicate the worldwide spread of British colonies. The British Empire encompassed the continents of Asia, Africa, America, and Australia. Thus, we learnt about the history of European colonialism. In the next lesson, we will learn about the influence of European colonialism in India. That's it for now. Thank you for watching. Please like it and subscribe it. Thank you.